If you're a dealership running ads in 2025, I'm going to show you exactly the strategy that I use to help number one dealerships in the nation scale their marketing efforts with Google ads and Facebook ads. That being said, this is going to be an entire crash course, blueprint, whatever you want to call it, of how to run dealership ads for Facebook and Google. Previous experience. I worked for a number one dealership in the nation. You can see my face right there. This is me, a little bit on the chunkier side, but that being said, my starting point, I worked as a marketing director, and I think about the time when I was looking for work when I first landed my interview for the dealership. I had a baby on the way. I just graduated college. I was unemployed. I mean, there was a lot on the line for me. And when I got the call to go do an interview for this position, marketing director for a dealership, usually those positions are very highly sought after. And somebody that's not, starting out of college, you usually have to have a ton of experience. And so I needed to have an edge. And so I used the edge that I knew best, which was marketing and analytics. And so a lot of my background was based in helping out family members with their small businesses with various methods for advertising. I took that upon me and I decided to go to my interview with a laptop and a presentation. And the rest was history. I impressed the manager and the GM so much so he brought me into the owner's office to do the presentation once again. And to this day, I'm extremely grateful for the owners and the overall staff that works there. I managed to gain so much insight, so much valuable knowledge. One of the things that I'm glad that happened was that they took a chance on me and they took a chance on a lot of my crazy ideas from a marketing perspective. And to this day, I still work with them and very happy to be a part of the team day in and day out. And so for me, now it's all about helping more dealers. Since 2020, I've been helping a ton of different dealerships throughout the nation and scale their branding and helping sell more cars with marketing solutions within Google and Facebook. Those two platforms are at the top of the S&P for a good reason, is because a lot of their stuff does work. What doesn't work though is overpriced TV and radio, overpriced third-party vendors, newspapers and magazines. And so if dealers are spending like a lot of money on this stuff, there is a likelihood that a lot of these ad dollars are going to waste. And I'm going to show you exactly why and how a lot of these other platforms are a lot more beneficial for your marketing dollars. So let's hop into the next slide here. Facebook ads that work. So we're going to go over carousel, graphic images, just basic images, videos. And then the objectives we're going to focus on is going to be leads with 2FA for phone numbers. The next one is going to be Messenger. I do like Messenger. I do believe it's not as strong as it was previously, but I'm going to still show you how you can get the most out of it. And then a link to the inventory. Considering all these objectives, let's kind of dive into it. So to first start things off, this is an active view of one of the accounts. I just want you to see exactly, this is fresh and live. As you can see, we do got pretty good cost per lead. Overall cost spent for the month to date, July 1st to July 19th. And yes, this is real numbers, real data. If you want to be a high performing dealer, you're going to have to be spending this amount of money every single month. And the amount of money these guys are spending are $40,000, $50,000 plus every single month in just one city and one location. So if you're spending $20,000, $30,000 on TV, I'm telling you right now, you're wasting a ton of money. And just to show you what's possible, what's capable, to break your belief, I have a strong belief that you are wasting tons and tons of dollars on third parties that are just doing this for you at an additional increased cost. So I'd want that to be clear, is that Edmunds, Car Gurus, Auto Trader, they're all doing this. They're all putting money into these platforms from you and charging a markup on it. So we're going to hop into the Google ads and in Facebook ads as well. So what's the first thing you're going to need to do whenever you are ready to make a Facebook ad? Well, the first thing you're going to need to do by all means is understand that you're going to need a Facebook ads manager. None of this boosting an account and going into the Facebook page and clicking boost and then hoping something happens. That's not going to get you the results you're looking for. You need to have a sophisticated ads manager account that's verified through Facebook that's going to help you get those results that you're looking for. Now, once you set up your ads manager, we can begin to create the actual advertisement. Now, whenever you're getting ready, it doesn't matter which way you want to go. You can start off with the graphic, create the image, get everything set up, or you can start off with just setting up the campaign structure and then putting the graphic into there. Today, I've decided I'm going to go ahead and set up the campaign structure first, and then we'll create the graphic later. So today we're going to do leads objective, and we're going to focus on trying to generate some leads. Let's go into the setup. Now, keep in mind, whenever you're starting to create ads, you're going to want to make sure you're in good standing with Facebook. So you're going to want to put financial services, products and services. So you don't get a ban by Facebook. Now for the daily budget, we're going to set the daily budget to be somewhat aggressive, and we're going to set it for $300 a day. That being said, once we have our daily budget set aside, now you might be asking yourself, why so much for one campaign? Trust me, you're going to want to see this, and I'm going to show you the math here in a bit. But once we get the campaign ready to go and we have the campaign structure, so every campaign structure is going to be campaign, ad set, and the ad. Going from the campaign, we're going to go ahead and click next and begin the next step of the process. So this is where you're going to put a little bit more detail into what you're wanting out of the ad, who you're wanting to target, and how you're wanting to approach the overall process. So we're going to go ahead and just pick one of the accounts that I have just as an example. And we're going to select instant forms as the objective, the conversion location. Instant forms, this is going to be a form within Facebook. Now we're going to go for maximize number of leads. We could go the route of maximizing number of conversion leads, which we would need to get data from the CRM of somebody buying. However, e-leads in certain platforms make it a little challenging to attribute that data, but there is a manual way we could do that. For now, we're going to focus on maximizing the number of leads coming in. That being said, if you do have an inventory catalog, you can make an inventory catalog. Keep in mind, you are going to need to keep a close eye on it to make sure that the inventory is up to date, the pricing's up to date, and there's no errors on the inventory pricing. This is for sure a really great way of working with like Dealer Plus, Inventory Plus, and getting your feed on here as well. But for now, we're just going to say you don't have that. You don't want to go into all that technicals. We want to get something going. We're going to set the start date. We can end the ad whenever we want. We could put an end date if we wanted to. But for right now, we're going to skip that. Just leave it on start as soon as possible. And then we'll close the ad whenever we want to close it and we're done with it. Or duplicate it, turn it off, and then with the new duplicated ad, we can just update the imaging. So here, we're going to go into a custom audience. We're going to go ahead and select the location, which we want the location to be. Let's say, for example, San Antonio. Nice, good old San Antonio. And I do like to do the 50-mile radius, but you could do the DMA. The difference between the DMA is it's going to do the designated market area, or, which I don't think is a bad idea, is just to do the actual city. San Antonio. There we go. And we can actually do the city radius. So we can go ahead and click this out. If we wanted to, we can increase the mileage on here as well. So we'll go up to 50 miles. People from that area can definitely come and buy a car. Next, we're going to go into the ad creation process. Once you get all this set up and you're ready to go, you've got your location targeting set. We can then begin the next process of this, which is going to be the ad creation. So now that we've got the ad set, the campaign ready to go, some things I want to know. Whenever you do select financial products, you are limited to who you can target. You see right here, you can't target people based on age. So there is that downside of having to be featured into that financial services and products category. Nonetheless, Facebook does a great job with its AI and targeting the people you really want to reach. That being said, we have down here placements. Now, I do have people asking me, is it necessary to fix these and touch these? Honestly, I do notice sometimes if you do just want to focus on Facebook only, this is a great place, especially if you feel that your audience is there. That is a great place to just kind of focus on the feed. So for example, we could just do the Facebook feed alone, not the profile feed, not the marketplace, Facebook video feeds, Business Explorer. Although it could be argued that having Facebook Marketplace is probably a good spot to have your cars being listed on there for running ads. You can do in streams, you can do stories and reels, Facebook stories, Instagram stories. I do find to be very effective. So for the time being, I don't think you should get very nitpicky about all of this just yet until you actually run your first campaign, or if you are maybe a little bit more in depth on your campaign structure, highly recommend this framework right now. So Facebook feed, Instagram feed, leave the marketplace on. I would also recommend Facebook video feed. And then down here on the stories and reels, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, Instagram reels, and then Facebook reels. Highly recommend those. You don't need to do these in-stream ones. Search results, don't need them as well. And that structure I would do for somebody who does spend a lot of money on it, maybe wants to get a little bit more. Those placements work very, very well. Now, once we get our placements set, we have our targeting correct. Now comes with the opportunity to focus on the ad. You might be asking yourself, what's the best ad to run? Honestly, if you're a used car dealer, highly recommend running images with the graphic combined of your inventory, and it does phenomenal. It does a really great job giving a good variety and appealing to different types of buyers. For the sake of it, I definitely want to just focus on one graphic image, and then maybe I can show you what a carousel one would look like here in a second. So that being said, let's go ahead and see what types of graphics we can make. So I'm going to pull up my Canva editor and we're going to begin the process of making a graphic. So now I'm going to show you how to make just a very simple graphic. I have a template that I like to use a lot. I find it to be very simple, straightforward. for the time being, I'm going to show you how I do it from scratch. Now, you don't have to do it from scratch. You could probably just like copy me. I'll go ahead and put it into the PDF template that you can download and easily just access, and just click the Canva link and just copy it. But that being said, I want to show you what I think is a really good framework and structure for creating a graphic. So starting from scratch, I'm usually going to get a really cool image. I'm going to go to the most recent uploads I have. I'm going to go ahead and grab this car right here. I typically do like to do fades on my cars. So I'll show you how I do a fade to begin with. Let's go ahead and click this. Okay, awesome. Now that we have our image, I want to be able to put something at the top of it and fade it into the image as well. So let's do a blend and go to edit. And then down here, I have a blender that you can get. It's like a simple app you can search for in Canva. It's called Image Blender. I like to do the linear style, switch it all the way to the top. And then you're going to want to fade it into the photo. So it kind of like does a nice fade, and you can get the fade to be a little bit longer too, if you wanted. So we could do that right there. Even more of a dramatic fade, so to say. And then once that's ready to go, you'll click save down here. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it's a little gimmicky, but trust me, it's the best way that I've been able to find with this setup to work the best. Let's go ahead and do that again. I'll go to Image Blender once more. Image Blender, Radial. So let's give that a go. And I go back to this, flip it backwards like that. And then we'll fade it again like how we had it right about there. That does a good fade. Now we're going to click save on that. Now it does a good job at helping us fade that photo. Now that we have a faded photo, we can go ahead and add this to the overall image and graphic design. By no means am I a professional graphic designer. This is just something I've found to be very effective over the years in a simplified format. Now that we've got our graphic here, I like to add a nice headline, but more importantly, since we're going to be going with a back to school style, I definitely want to focus on back to school. So the element we're going to be looking for is just back to school. There we go. And then we'll look at some of the photos we have here in stock. I can see I've got a few photos down here, probably something with just some like pencils. That could be a good one too, but we want to always make sure we have our image to be able to have our wording there and our text overlay. So let's take a look here. This one's pretty good. I like that one. I like this one. Let's just maybe go with something a little bit more simpler if we can. That's pretty solid. It's a little bit more artsy, but let's see if we can find something a little bit more like scissors and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty solid. So if we want, we'll just split this up like that. We'll blow up the image so that way we cover the entire top of it. There we go. And we want to make sure we get a majority of those elements in there. And then from there, make sure it's not like super like prominent, but it's somewhat noticeable. And so from there, we'll just fix it up just a little bit and then position it to the back. Now we've got some back to school vibes with a really nice image of a car. Now we can begin the text overlay topic so that way we can get our words to pop out. I did have one up here from a previous campaign I ran for 4th of July. So I'll grab this, and this, and then we'll just kind of rephrase that back to school vibe up here as well. So we're going to give this one effects and change that to a little bit on the black, put that black. And then we'll give this a green color. I think that'll be solid for the back to school vibes. Now, once we get that set up, we're going to begin adding all the specials we have on the lot. So I'm going to remove this and make sure it applies to the vehicle. That's what we're going to focus on next. Okay, next comes our specials. Right now, I think with this vehicle, they are running at 60 months, 0% off APR. So I am going to go ahead and grab that wording over here. Now, what was the reasoning behind me grabbing all of this specific stuff? I really like to make things pop. I like to give them a good, easy call out. So this definitely makes it easy for us to like just have it pop. We can blow this up a little bit so it takes up more of that space. So we're gonna grab that, and just blow it up just a little bit more so it stands out. Takes up more of that space. That looks pretty solid. Offer expires. This offer will have expire at the end of August. That way it adds urgency to the actual graphic and image. I do notice leases to work really well for new cars too. That tends to be a really good setup, but this could also be applied to used cars to some degree. You could do up to $2,000 off. For this case, they usually do like, say they do $1,500 off. We could do $2,000 for students and parents. You definitely want to get creative with what you're willing to offer, because a lot of the times if somebody sees this, they need to stop scrolling for a reason. Like you need to give somebody a reason to get up out of their seat. So we're going to say we're going to do it for students and teachers maybe. Maybe we want to get some teachers in. Be surprised at how many teachers need new cars for students and teachers. And like we could say it's an additional $500 bonus for students and teachers. And then we're going to want to put the logo on there. So we're going to grab this. I do believe I do have a Mazda logo that I could use. So we'll go here and then we'll add that logo and grab that here. Make sure it has the branding on there. It's all in line. And we might want to add some type of call out at the bottom as well here. Maybe we can do back to school savings. Something simple. You don't want to overthink it too much. You just want to give people a good reason as to why. And this might be hard to see, and we can maybe add a little bit of a fade down here, which I do think would be solid. We can do black fade graphics, and then I could do something like that there. Put that here and not take up too much of the car, but just enough to where it looks like a shadow. And then also this gives us an opportunity to put that small disclaimer on the bottom to see dealer for complete details. And that just really helps the overall marketing aspect. There we go. Now you've got a graphic you can start running. We're going to take this graphic and download it. I'm downloading only that page, 1500. Highly recommend using Canva. Canva is a great platform, great software. And there are some free versions, so you could literally sign up today and start using it for free. So now we're going to take that Mazda example, and you've already made your ads manager. We made all the ad set up properly in place. And we're going to take that image and we're going to put it into our Facebook ad. To do so, I like to go and just start off. Let's just say we're going to start simple. Let's just do a single image, and I'll show you how to do a carousel in a bit. Let's just do a single image one, and let's just focus on the graphic itself. So let's go to setup creative, image ad, upload. We're going to go ahead and upload Mazda example, and then we're going to instantly have that ready to go. Awesome. Now we've got our Mazda, and we want to do original, because if you do the 9:16, it's going to cut everything off and look awkward. Just for now, just do the original. It's going to be a 1x1 image. And then this is where we get to add our ad copy. Now, this is typically where I would utilize my simple framework for ad copy that I created with my ChatGPT, but you can pretty much do anything you want for this. However, I'm going to show you what I would utilize moving forward. Now, what I would do moving forward is I would just, please give me Facebook ad copy for Mazda of Palm Beach, up to 2,000 off any new vehicle and 0% for 60 months as well. And from there, back to school vibes, we're going to get that going. And then it's going to give me my ad copy, and you can test it out. Test it on your own dealership, on your own setup. And I think you might be surprised at some of the results you get. Some of the ad copy that you can get from it, pretty solid. My ChatGPT does know how I like to have my ad copy set up. There may be some difference between mine and yours, but you can go ahead and copy mine and take it and try and utilize this framework as well. One thing that I always want to make sure that I do whenever I do my ad copy is to make sure to add the city location at the start. So that way people immediately know the ad is for them. It really shouts out Palm Beach, Florida. Back to school savings are here. And you go ahead and take this. Nothing crazy as far as ad copy goes, but something very simple and basic. And sometimes that's all you need. You don't need to overthink it or reinvent the wheel. We just need to have simple. Simple is perfect. So I'm going to take this copy, and I do like to always squish it together. It definitely helps. And then we can add a little bit of a space there. Parents and students and teachers looking for a reliable ride this school year. Message us to secure your deal or schedule a test drive today. Limited time only. Don't miss out. Awesome. Back to school savings. And then we could do 0% APR. Something very, very simple. Get offer. Go next. And we're going to avoid the translate and the 3D animation for now. I've noticed some issues with the translate, so I wouldn't recommend it too much. I do think when it's out of beta, it'll probably be a little bit better because it's using some AI, but sometimes it sends people the wrong language. They'll be in English and it'll see it in German. So it's works sometimes it doesn't. But there we go. We've made our ad now, and we can now begin the process of advertising on the platforms and having an ad ready to go. This is a great way to get a bunch of leads at a really good cost per lead. Like you're looking, depending on the city, 10 to 15, 20 cost per lead. I mean, I showed you everything that I would do from start to finish for an ad campaign for a dealership on Facebook. This doesn't even go into Google. But that being said, this is ready to go, ready to be offered. Now, I want to focus on the one thing that Facebook included recently in updates is require SMS verification to submit form. So now you can require people to submit their phone number right here. As you can see, they get a text and it now requires them to submit their phone number by a code. So we are not going to be getting fake phone numbers or bad numbers. All of these numbers that come through should be verified, 100% legit, and you should be able to get a hold of them. Now that says a lot about the quality that's coming through now. Like, we know when we generate a lead, it's good quality, good result. It's a good customer. They're really interested and they want to know more about what you're offering. And we do make sure to ask questions in our form fill outs. So that way we get a little bit more of a idea of how serious this customer is. And I do ask them at the very end of the form, one more step. To claim, please click the link below and call and schedule an appointment with the dealership. So I do ask people to schedule an appointment at the end of the form. Hey, give us a call and schedule now. But some of the questions I like to ask is going to be how soon, what car you're interested, and possibly sometimes what's your score. It just all depends. We're going to go into Google Ads next. That covers Facebook right now. Now, Google Ads. Google Ads is the one thing that dealers mess up on all the time. I've seen it before and I see it a lot. I see it a lot actually. I go into the ad account for Google and the dealer doesn't even know that he's spending thousands of dollars throughout the year on his own name. Not that there's anything bad with that. Your competitors are going to be spending money on your name, but you don't want to be spending a significant amount of your budget on your own name. That being said, we're going to dive into best practices for Google Ads. Now, I have an entire framework for Google Ads. It needs to be said, to make a Google Ads, I would just go to Google Ads, type it into your search, and create a Google Ads account and start now. They have also some great resources. There's also some great credits you can claim. But this is going to be the entire framework for Google Ads that you can download and access. This is going to be going over a simple framework I would put into any small, maybe medium-sized dealership. 200-day Google Ad framework. This is just for the search portion. I do have a PMAX portion for $50 and then a YouTube ads campaign for $100 a day. Going into the Google Ads dealership blueprint for search, you're going to want to create a branded campaign. It's going to focus on a few keywords, your dealership name. So if you're a Toyota dealership, you want to put Toyota dealership near me as one of the keywords. You're going to want to put best Toyota dealer in my area keyword, Toyota dealerships highly rated keyword. That's going to be your sweet spot for this branded campaign. A lot of people are just searching up that general term, best used car dealer. That's what they do all the time. I don't know why, but it's just very common. Model campaign. This is where you're going to want to focus on the models on your lot. This is where you need to get creative. So if you have a very, very heavy lot on, like, say, SUVs or cars, you're going to want to spend majority of those keywords on the SUVs or majority of those keywords on the trucks, whatever it may be. So we're going to be going after Toyota Camry if you have got a lot of Camrys on the lot. We're going to want to go after Toyota RAV4s if you got a lot of RAV4s on the lot. And the keyword models as well. So 2025 Toyota Camry for sale, new Toyota RAV4 near me. Those keywords are very prevalent and a lot of people do search those. And we want to make sure we capture those views and we capture those visits. More importantly is that we want the ad copy to also be aligned with the keyword. And then the next campaign we would want to do for search is going to be the competitor campaign. So going after Toyota of Bernie, Toyota of Fred Haas, wherever it may be. Maybe your competitors that you know you lose business to, we want to go after them and see if we can steal some of those clicks. Avoid using their names in the copy though. We want to use things like compare local Toyota dealers, save at wherever it may be, your Toyota dealership, so on and so forth. Considering other options, consider us. Like, we want to have the ad copy be in line with what people are searching. The next is a PMAX campaign. I'll go into depth on how a PMAX should be structured. It's fairly straightforward and simple, but it does a great job at covering all of the places you can do advertisements on. You can do pretty much search, display, Gmail, Maps, YouTube, and Discover. So many great options, but you do need to have some imagery in there so that way it can accompany and also complement all the other campaigns you're running. So you probably want to go for like Toyota dealer generalized concepts in this area. And then also for used cars, probably generalized used car keywords and concepts that you fall into categories for. We want to create good targeting, Toyota shoppers, used car shoppers, whatever it may be. Now, YouTube campaign really slept on, so powerful. Lots of good things you can do with YouTube, but I love using YouTube for retargeting, especially if people visit your site. Hitting them up with the YouTube campaign to retarget web visitors is a great way to re-engage your audience. And so next, we're going to go into depth on how to set up each campaign. So we'll do the $200 a day so on and so forth. And then we'll wrap it up from there. All right, so let's begin our first Google search campaign. That being said, it's very important as a dealership, you have a Google My Business profile and have access to it, because you're going to want to link your Google My Business profile to your Google Ads. And you might be asking yourself, why? It's very important that you do. And also just as important that whenever you're looking at your vehicles for sale, Google knows where to grab those vehicles from. It does a good job at getting access to your inventory from your website. So I highly recommend making sure your Google vehicle listings are set up properly. And the way you do that is through the vehicle listings on Google setting. You can go in and you can actually manually configure it to where it's properly being listed on here. People do view this and it does pull all of that data from your website. So highly recommend you get this set up first. Once that's all set up and you have everything said and done, when it comes down to linking your Google My Business to your Google Ads linked accounts here, you can go here and you can link over all your Google Ads to the proper account. But let's go ahead and dive into the campaign creation. So once you create your Google Ads account, you're going to go ahead and click the blue plus button, just so you know what I'm talking about is this button right here, new campaign. You're going to see this part right here where it's choosing your objective. A lot of cool stuff here. However, I do think sometimes it can get a little confusing with what your goal is, because obviously you want more website traffic, you want more leads, you want more awareness, you want all of these. These would be great to do them all. But it's like, man, which one do I pick? I want more sales, of course. For now, let's just create a campaign without guidance, because we want to be in mind of what the ad is going to be doing. We're doing search. So we're going to focus on the search campaign. So we're going to go ahead and click search, and we're going to want to focus on website visits and phone calls. So you're going to want to put your website here and your phone number here to make sure that you are properly attributing the proper clicks to the right place and making sure people are clicking the right phone number as well. Now you can choose goals you would like to focus on: purchases, form submissions from your website, sign up, page view, and there are some other conversion metrics we can definitely focus on as well. We're not an e-com, so we don't need to focus on any of these because we're a dealership, but leads for booked appointments, quote requests, get directions, outbound click, contact. So we definitely want to focus on these. But for now, for search, since we're going to want to focus on web visits because people are going to be wanting to view our inventory, let's go to getting people to page view, because that for me is going to be very important for looking for shoppers. So we're going to go ahead and click turn on enhanced conversions. Usually it's just kind of Google's way of saying we're going to put AI into it. That's fine. And for the beginning part of your first search campaign, highly recommend you focus on clicks, maximizing clicks, going for those clicks. You still don't know what conversions work. Maybe you might need to do some optimizations after, some time. But if you do have optimizations in place and you know which ones work really well, highly recommend starting off with conversions. But for now, since we're starting out, we're going to be going into clicks. Set a maximum cost per click. Right now, we don't want to do that. We want to see what the algorithm and what everything comes back as far as the data goes. And we don't want to bid for new customers only. Very often, customers do come back and re-engage. So we're going to go ahead and click next on this portion. Now, this is where something very important we need to focus on is Google search partners networks. I don't know where this is exactly going to be coming from. I'm very confident that this is going to change into things like ChatGPT, maybe Grok doing Google search partner network setups. So I would say now leave it on. Google Display Network, this says recommended, but you don't need to utilize that for right now. Google says that you should try to, and for the time being, let's say you don't want to mess with too many settings. Let's just leave all of these on. Google Display Network, they're kind of combining everything now with the way they're heading with a lot of these settings. So we'll leave that on for now. And then location options. We're going to want to make sure we put presence, people in, or regularly in your included locations. Don't leave it on the auto, just default one. You're going to get clicks from India. It's so bad. This is where they mess up all the time. So we now know we don't want to get clicks from India. So we're going to click presence, people in, or regular in your included locations. And we're now going to put enter a location. I like to do advanced search and go to radius. And let's say I'm doing San Antonio. That's familiar with that area. We're going to include San Antonio. It's going to do that nice bubble over my area. I do like to set my radius out a little bit farther. So we'll go 50 miles. People in these local areas do like to shop in San Antonio. So we'll click save on that. Now I've got my radius really configured to my target audience, which is people in San Antonio and surrounding areas. Languages, right now we have English selected, but if you work with Spanish speaking people, highly recommend you do click Spanish. Or maybe there's, French, say you are located in Canada. French is a common language. Maybe you want to include French. The cool thing that I want to note is language targeting allows you to restrict where your ads can appear. Ads can be shown to people who understand any, but not necessarily all the languages you select. One thing I like to note is that Google does have a translate feature. So it does do a good job at translating some of your ads. So this doesn't hurt you if you select these categories. So for the time being, we'll do English and Spanish since we know both people speak in those areas. Now you can do audience segmenting. So with audience segments, it can be said that retargeting based on audience segments can be valuable. However, this is a search campaign. So something to be said is that you do not need audience segments just yet until you have more data. That being said, I think leaving audience segments off for your search terms, for your search campaigns should be kind of like the go-to route, because what's going to happen is that you're already targeting people in your area based off of search terms that they're putting into Google. Now, whether they're a person who's interested in shopping or not, or they're retargeting, we don't need to get too much into the weeds on that just yet, especially if we're starting out from scratch and we're just setting things up. I would leave audience segments a little bit more towards like PMAX, a little bit more towards YouTube for retargeting prospects. However, you by all means can absolutely utilize auto shoppers, people that aren't interested in Toyotas for sure. There could be something said that maybe Google's algorithm just works differently that I'm not aware of, or haven't done enough research on, but you could target people that are searching for specific makes and models. However, what I would recommend is before you decide to do that, you do some testing beforehand. Do one without audience segments and do one with audience segments based off of in-market data. So you could go that route. Always test. Good marketers always test their ads. And so that's what I would recommend doing beforehand, is maybe making 2 of these, let them run for about a week or 2 and see how they compare to each other. Do you get more conversions with the other, or do you get better or more conversions with that one? That's pretty much where you want to focus on. After we've set up our audience segments, maybe we're doing a little bit of testing, both, with and without. Now we can go into kind of the ad rotation. I always leave it on prefer best performing ads. And then the next one for more settings is ad schedule. I don't recommend an ad schedule because some people like to shop for cars at random times. They could be shopping at night, early in the morning, whatever it may be. However, one of the things I would recommend in terms of your assets, whenever we go to the asset creation for structured snippets or structured extensions, possibly putting a framework around your phone number for it to only be available from the times you're open, because that would make sense for your dealership locally. And then from here, we have page feeds. Page feeds is interesting because I do find it to be a little bit more prevalent in PMAX. I do think if we were to click this, yes, it's for performance in PMAX. It looks like they're trying to cross it over into search campaigns. And this could be a little bit in combination with the AI Max that they're including. What a page feed does is you can put specific URLs you want to reference for the campaign. So if you want to reference your inventory, it could scrape your inventory page and grab certain elements from there and add them into your ad copy and your ad structure. However, that does give you some unforeseen things that could happen, is like maybe it's grabbing the wrong image from the page, and maybe the data from that page that it's scraping isn't in line with the campaign. So for the time being, I would recommend page feeds to be off if you're not too familiar with it. Page feeds can work very well in your favor if done correctly. However, for the time being, just to keep things simplified, I would recommend just leaving page feeds off and just sending people to the campaign page you really want them to go and check out, and put in your campaign structure the type of ad copy you really want. Campaign URL options, you can create tracking parameters here, so that way you know exactly what campaign people are coming from your Google Analytics. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and go into the newest addition to Google Search, which is AI Max for search campaigns. You can opt in or opt out. I would have a separate campaign for AI Max with search. So maybe you have your regular structure with your search campaigns like we went over, and then you have an AI Max for search campaigns by itself. And it's like maybe you're testing it out, but it's a pretty cool stuff that it's offering. The reason why I think you should have your eye on this is because in the near future, Google AI mode is probably going to be recommending paid sponsored results to some degree. And you definitely want to be on the top of those recommendations for sponsored results, because right now the people that have the most organic content out there are winning at organic traffic from AI. So This is going to allow small businesses to get an opportunity to get more business. So typically here for the brand inclusions, we would probably include Toyota, so on and so forth. Right now, I don't want to dive into all of what AI Max offers just yet, but we're going to turn it off for this search campaign for now. And we're going to move on into the keyword and asset generation. This is also a really cool AI feature. So let's just say we're going to be advertising Toyota. Let's just get a random Toyota dealership. Let's do a San Antonio Toyota, North Park Toyota. Perfect. So you can see they've got, that's a really, really lame Google ad copy. Let's do Cavender Toyota. Let's check them out. They're not doing any ads, but they've got good search. Now it pulls all the data, scrapes the data from the website, creates a unique kind of description for us. And then we click generate, and it's going to generate a lot of cool keywords. Now this isn't going to be in line with maybe the campaign we're wanting to create, but it could be on par. And right now I see that just based off of these Toyota inventory, Toyota dealership, this is pretty much on par with the type of category we were trying to make, which is Toyota branded. If we wanted to go maybe Camry branded, we would probably want that to be more Camry based generative kind of description. And right now, these are the keywords that we're going to be utilizing. I wouldn't recommend leaving the keywords like this. I would highly recommend using broad match. Broad match tends to be a little bit more focused on your audience, especially when they're typing in certain things. Because if somebody types in Toyota parts for sale, Toyota DIY headlamp replacement, you don't want to be popping up for those searches, which happens way too often with dealerships. So broad match allows us to be a little bit more focused on the actual search that's being typed into Google. So putting these quotations around each of our keywords is going to allow us to be a little bit more focused on our goal of getting these people that are interested in Toyota products. Now, if you do have used Toyota cars, this would be a great opportunity to put that there as well. Now, this comes the next part, which is the ad creation. So say we got our group of keywords. I would say this is an okay amount of keywords. You could probably go a little bit more in depth, but for the time being, we're going to leave it right here and say those are the keywords we're going to go after. Now, we've got our final URL, which is the cavendertoyota.com, but we probably want to do the inventory specifically because these will be for new cars. So we're going to go to view all new inventory, and we're going to take that URL, put it into here as the final URL. And that way we have a really, really good format for our dealership. Now we go on to the ad creation. I know we went over it a little bit, but we're going to be wanting to make sure that everything is lined up how we want it to be. As you can see right here, we have a kind of like a little bit of a score for ad strength. And right now we're looking at excellent ad strength. As far as our headlines go, popular keywords, headlines unique, descriptions unique, everything about this is going to be unique. And so we're adding a lot of different elements to our campaign. And right now we can see previews of how our advertisement is going to be positioned and how it's going to look. You're going to have the business name, the website, new and used car dealership. I don't think the dealership word would be a good idea to use. New and used cars would probably be totally cool to work with there. Friendly staff, Toyota cars and trucks. Some great examples here. And we can even preview ads like as a whole. And we can put price offers, call, location, form fill outs. This is just a really great way to get featured at the top of the search and just get a lot more traffic to your website, especially if the keywords you're targeting are in line with the ad copy. If we were just focusing on the Camry, we put all Camry stuff in here. We put new and used Camrys, 2025. We want to focus on pushing Camrys and we want to get those people that are searching for Camrys. Like this would be a fantastic way at really focusing on our ideal audience who are actively searching in our city. And you saw everything from start to finish, how we're going to accomplish that. I think this is why it's so hard sometimes to explain in depth what Google Ads is capable of, is because it's so much and so many dealers don't realize how much they're missing out on in terms of opportunity. That being said, once you get everything set up, you're going to want to put your logo, and you're probably going to want to add a few snippets, service specials, schedule a service, or maybe contact sales, certified pre-owned cars, look at inventory links. You could add call outs, and there's also a call snippet where if we want people to call a specific number, we can. Lead form. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think lead forms is great. And we can also send it straight over to the CRM. So that way the B2C get direct access to it. And then once you have all of that said and done, you click done, you kind of review everything. Okay, those are the keywords. Awesome. We're going to next. Now we're going to set up our budget. This is where we would confirm our budget, set a custom budget, has a recommended one. As you can see, 46 bucks per day. For this one, we had mentioned we're going to be doing, I think it was like 80 bucks or something. And we can then get a good cost analysis of how many clicks we're going to get per week, which is pretty cool. And here you can see as far as our ad strength goes, they're kind of coming in at $1.09 per click. So I think that's a pretty solid trade. Every dollar I spend on this ad campaign, I get a customer to look at my inventory. That to me is a very, very good trade-off there. Once you have everything done, you get to review everything and you get to go into your overview. One thing that you can't do in the ad creation portion is create a negative keyword campaign list. It's very, very important that you create negative keywords. Now, if you want help with creating negative keywords, I would highly recommend using ChatGPT because it does a great job at doing that. Can you give me a negative keyword list for Cavender Toyota dealership, San Antonio, Texas? Keyword category is for Toyota branding. So then it's going to give me a negative keyword list. Free Craigslist, Facebook, eBay, used parks, recalls, tons of these keywords you don't want to be popping up for. Toyota accident. And then once you import all those negative keywords into your campaign, your search campaign is ready to go. That's 1 of 5. Now let's go ahead and create a really quick PMAX campaign. We're going to click create a campaign without guidance. We're going to do performance max and we're going to go here and focus on page views. And we're just going to click continue because right now we're just trying to show you the framework that you should probably be utilizing for your ad campaigns. For now, PMAX, you definitely do need conversions because you can't just do clicks. So it's going to want to measure conversions. So probably going to want to run a couple search campaigns before you create your first PMAX campaign. That being said, you're going to click on to the next one. Like I said, we're going to click enter location. I'm not entirely sure why PMAX doesn't allow you to select based off of like people regularly in, but I do like to go into the settings after the fact to make sure that is selected properly. So we'll go to San Antonio, Texas, include, and then we'll go ahead and configure this to be 50 miles, save and save that. And that'll be ready to go there. And we, say we want to do Spanish as well. We'll do Spanish, boom. Now this is where you can do asset optimization. I say leave them on. This one is turned off. Sometimes it's good to not leave all of this on. If you do have landing page images and like those aren't in line with the actual ad, sometimes it's best not to have that on because like say it pulls up a truck and your ad is like on a car. It's going to be a little bit off. Now let's do Cavender Toyota just to start things off. It's going to go to my website, grab a bunch of different information. And right now, let's see, generate assets. Now it should scrape my website, grab some stuff. There we go. Used car, Cavender, boom, generate assets, grab the link, grab some other stuff as well. Super intuitive with PMAX. It's kind of like a little bit of AI mixed in as well. So that's pretty much ready to go there. We're going to want to do logo. So we can select this logo and then you could add some more logos if you want as well. There's a lot of great options there you could use. You can click here and view more logos, website or social, and then you can put in the actual website to see if it scans anything on the website for logos. That's not an ideal logo. If you can't find it, don't worry, just upload one. And now you've got your campaign structured in a really great way for you to start that process. And the AI images are getting pretty insane so far. It's really cool how intuitive it is nowadays. I mean, it grabs images from your website to utilize. And let's go ahead and play with all these. We'll select all of them. Videos, you would typically want to grab videos from your YouTube page. Cavender Toyota. Whoa, new Tundra. There we go. We got that ready to go. We'll just save that for now. And once that's ready to go, we can add some more links. Like I mentioned, you probably want to add the call asset as well. Maybe some structured snippets, a lead form. And once you kind of put all these things together and you add a lot of those good assets to your campaign, it's going to really come out to be a really, really cool just overview, like 10-foot overview of everything you can do on Google PMAX, literally just performance max, everything to the max. Google search, display, YouTube. That's obviously not in line. That's probably not a good setup. You'd probably want to be more mindful, but the YouTube videos there, discover, that's pretty cool. Cavender Toyota. That's pretty cool as well. And then also Gmail, which is also a really cool thing. And then when somebody opens it, you can see that's what it looks like when they open. That's what that looks like when they open. So lots of cool variations. I like to say PMAX is jack of all trades, master of none, and search is master of search. Okay, so we just covered PMAX. Now we're going to be hopping over to YouTube advertising. Now I have listed out kind of the entire framework for, Facebook. Now we're going into Google Ads. We went over Google search. We went over Google PMAX, and now we're going over Google, but specifically inside of Google, we're talking about YouTube advertising. Now, YouTube advertising is a great platform. As far as like audience, your entire audience is on YouTube. You have so many people utilizing YouTube from young to old. I mean, it's literally insane the amount of reach that you have available on YouTube. What I want us to do today is we're going to just go over a simple framework, how to create a YouTube campaign. Now, there are several ways you can set it up, but I'm going to show you the most simplistic way to kind of just get it going and make it happen. But first, in order to do a campaign with YouTube, what's important is you need a YouTube page. And secondly, you need something to advertise. In most cases, some dealers do have commercials that they can just like plop onto YouTube and start advertising. Fantastic. In some cases, you might have nothing. And if you have nothing, I do have a framework for how I would make a video. They don't have to be super professional, but they can be very much down to earth, straightforward, simplistic, and then you can chop them up how you need to. But that being said, let's just say you have your commercial ready to go. You then upload it to your YouTube channel. And then from there, you can begin YouTube advertising. So to get started, you're going to go ahead and click create campaign. And then when you get there, you're going to select create a campaign without a guidance. And then down here, we have video as an option. So we're going to click video, and we've got a few different kind of subtypes within the campaign: video views, efficient reach, target frequency, non-skippable, drive conversions, ad sequence, audio. There's a lot of cool things you can learn more about them. However, in my opinion, I like efficient reach because it gives you a huge bang for buck for just a brand awareness and just overall impressions. Video views is great if you really want to have an impressionable ad that kind of retargets people and gets them to see the video more than once. Video views is great for really putting influence. However, one thing that video views doesn't allow for is YouTube TV. And that's why I like efficient reach, because I like to be on TV. And I know a lot of other dealers like to be on TV as well. So I'm going to show you exactly the display network. So you've got in-stream, in-feed ads, short ads. And I do believe right here, Google TV. Appear on Google TV network campaigns running in the United States. So you get featured on like ESPN, Fox News, all those good places. And I love how efficient this can be with reaching people that might have services through like a Google TV, and Google has access to those ad platforms. So all that being said, pretty much I like to leave everything on. Campaign total, I like to do daily. So, setting up a daily spend for however you're setting it up. But usually we're doing 50% search, 30% PMAX, and 20% YouTube. So let's say it's $20 a day. Awesome. We got that set. You could put an end date if this is a promo. We have done end dates before in the past. If it's like a special seasonal promotion, that works really, really well. Now you go into the locations, enter locations, advanced search, go to radius, keep everything on track. San Antonio, we'll do that. Change the mile radius to be 50 miles. And then we'll go ahead and click save on that. And now you can do all languages or do the languages that you select. I like all languages. I think it's a great way to just reach a lot of people. Now, this is where you can select the demographics, interest, targeting. You could do retargeting within this portion. However, I would create two separate campaigns. YouTube for general reach, kind of brand awareness, and then one to like retarget your web visitors or anybody that has interacted with any of the ads that you've submitted out there. That's a great way to retarget. So two different ones. And I think retargeting would be a completely different topic for your campaign structure as well. You can go based off of keywords, topics, placements. However, in my humble opinion, you could go after shoppers. You could totally do that. I think it's important to kind of collect the data first before you refine the data. You're going to want to focus on going more brand awareness, collecting as much data as possibly can before you decide to make adjustments. But if you do have campaigns running already, I highly recommend just going after a retargeting one. I think it's always important to kind of like target the masses and collect the data so you could see like, oh, a certain amount of people actually watched the entire video. Those people could actually be very interested in what I have to offer. Let me go ahead and create a sub-segment of those people that watch 70% of my video and create a retargeting audience around that. Now that I think is way more effective than just like trying to get very in the weeds and be like, oh, I want to go after keywords, topics, placements. There is something to be said though, targeting people that are watching car reviews on YouTube in your local area. That's also a great methodology that you could also put into place. Now, this is where things kind of just get really simplified. What's crazy is that you can advertise any video. So you can literally pick any video from YouTube. So, but for the sake of it, we're just going to stick with Cavender Toyota and we're select that video. And then all of a sudden we have our ad ready to go. And then here you have different formats. You've got the phone, you've got the desktop, and then you also have the TV. What I like to do a lot of the times is really take a look at the preview. So here we can see a preview of the video ad and how it's going to be displayed for users. Here we go. So our YouTube video ad is ready to roll and we can see the different formats, TV, phone, awesome. And then this is where you would go ahead and create your call to action, your headlines, your description. This one doesn't look like it has AI built into it just yet. So you would have to manually come up with these things. However, it's not as much information as like a search campaign or a PMAX campaign. Once you've set everything up, it's going to ask you for a target bid. CPM just stands for cost per 1,000 people you want to reach. I think this is where YouTube shines. Typically on a TV or radio, sometimes it costs like up to like 30 to 50 bucks to reach 1,000 people. On YouTube, I've seen it get as low as $2 to $3 to reach 1,000 people. That to me is just like insane that you get 10 times the value of spending your money on YouTube than you do on TV or radio. Like, why wouldn't you? And considering that 87% of Americans use YouTube, that's all you need. You just need a really good YouTube campaign, maybe with a really good budget, to really impact your local audience. Now, I like to be a little aggressive and put $10 just to make sure that I get enough impressions throughout the day. And here we can get an estimated of our performance. We can see that we're going to be getting anywhere between 26 to 47,000 impressions every single day with a $20 budget, which is insane. Like, you get to reach 26 to 47,000 people in a city like San Antonio for 20 bucks a day. Like, sign me up. Average cost per 1,000, $2 to $6. Like, such insane value. Highly recommend YouTube campaigns. So this is what you would do essentially to create the campaign. It's just start to finish. You don't have to put too much into it. I would always say review the data, collect as much data as possible, go back and then refine it. And then when time goes on, where, maybe after 30 days, 60 days of collecting a lot of good data within Google Ads, now we can start retargeting people and get more people coming back to the website. That's where the sweet spot is. Being able to have somebody search cars for sale near me. They land on the website. We target them with YouTube campaigns and Facebook campaigns. And all of a sudden we have retargeting visitors coming back to our website, continuing their shopping experience. That is where the sweet spot is. So now I'm just going to kind of wrap it up. I wanted to cover some extra bonus things that I think could be helpful. So some of the things that I did not mention that I do think you could possibly look into as a solution is whenever you're generating leads and you're connecting the website, there's a few things I left out that are very, very important, which is automation and simplicity. One of the things that I do think that a lot of people miss the mark on, it's just that there's so many solutions to it, is the nurture part of the leads that you're generating. And also on top of that is kind of the text messaging and emailing formats that you want to probably lean on and use for your dealership. Now, those are all going to be customized based off of your specific brand. There's only so much that I could offer in regards to a framework. However, my best recommendation would be to kind of look into maybe asking AI simply, help me make a sequence for texting customers that submit an inquiry. You can have that sequence be up to however many days. Considering all those things, you've got your sequences and you're nurturing the clients and all the leads coming through. Another thing that I want to touch on is kind of lead forwarding, to making sure that whenever a lead does land, you have the proper alert systems in place to ensure that your sales team can pick up the leads, start calling, start setting appointments. That is a whole nother dynamic for marketing and sales. It's kind of where they kind of mesh together. People have their own process, their own kind of things in place, but my recommendation is always speed to lead. And I know that having leads sent over to the CRM are very important. There are several different ways you can do that and achieve that. I utilize Zapier to some degree. With eLeads, Vin Solutions, Dealer Center, they all have different ways they prefer to be connected. So I'm not going to go into detail on how to connect that. I would definitely say that for a later video, but that's something to keep in mind, is that if you want the leads that you're generating from Facebook to be sent over to eLeads or your preferred CRM, there is a process for that, but does require a little bit more technical hands-on. And I would actually lean on AI for exploring how-tos in your specific scenario. That being said, I wanted to kind of cover carousel campaigns real quick for Facebook and give you an example. So we kind of went over how to set up a campaign. I wanted to show you a previous ad campaign we ran for one of our clients and the campaign that we were running for him. So this was in June. Here we go. Here we have all the basic settings for their campaign, financial products. We had a certain daily budget. For them, it wasn't an insane daily budget. It was just $30 a day. Same targeting. Here you can see we didn't get too in the weeds on the specific placements. However, we did have campaigns running for Carousel and their inventory. And we went ahead and made some of these overlays. But as you can see, what we did differently for this is that we kind of added some personalization to it with customer reviews and customer photos. We find this to be a very good way to have a good impression on your local audience. So whenever we make carousels, we want to include the overall experience of people. I bought a car and this is my review. And then we would source it from Google and match it up. And then also we tagged a photo of their location so people knew the relevance of this dealership in their area. Yeah, that kind of covers the carousel concept. Essentially, you have two options, single image or carousel. We would select each one as a photo, and you can even do a video one at the last of the cards if you wanted to. But we would just kind of add just basic titles. You could add the title and the information of the vehicle. However, you don't want to give people too much information for them to make a decision before they even contact you. We want people to inquire. We want people to reach out. So giving all of the information, all the details, sometimes can go against you. So we had all these settings set up properly in place. And basically, this is what we would create for them from a campaign setting standpoint. And I do believe we did have 2FA on their leads. And just to show you what we got as far as a result, we were getting $11, $10 per lead, 39 leads, $10, spent a total of $92. Now, if you're asking yourself, like, what are these leads looking like? I don't want to give their information too much, but I will show you some of the questions they did answer to kind of end the call. Vehicle you're interested in, do you have trade-in, how soon, information. So after they answer all those questions, all that information is going to be collected and it's going to be sent over straight to the CRM. It can be very, very powerful to have a CRM connect to your lead campaigns that are going through both Facebook and Google and Instagram as well. And maybe for another video, I might want to go into TikTok. I do think TikTok is a great way that dealers can get a lot out of it, but I do like to kind of paint the picture that your older audience is on Facebook, your kind of younger audience, mid-range audience is on Instagram, and your younger audience is on TikTok. But there are a few people on TikTok that are a little bit older that utilize the platform. Now, as far as YouTube goes, everybody's on YouTube. And that's why I recommend always leaning into a YouTube campaign for having that a part of your mix. And covering all of these things, what we just went over, is really going to give your dealership a very, very good impressional footprint from a digital standpoint. I feel like I squished like 7-8 years of knowledge into one video as best as I could. A lot of these tactics that I just showed you are the ones that I use very often. One of the things that I'm testing out is AI. And as soon as I figure that out and I have a little bit more of a grip on how that's going to play out for the bigger picture, I'll definitely continue to try and share what I know. But if you would like us to kind of personalize a lot of these things for your business or your dealership, please let us know. There's a link in the description that you can click and let us know a little bit more about you and see if we'd be a good fit. Also, if you want just the PDF summaries and the templates of everything that's available, those will be in the description as well for you to easily access. And I hope that kind of helps overall for maybe your structure and your business. And just kind of a refresher to go over everything we just covered going into Facebook. We went over carousel, graphic, image. You can do videos. We didn't touch on videos too much. However, I do think after looking at how to set up a YouTube campaign, Facebook video is very simplistic. You would probably want to optimize for video views. You wouldn't really want to go after leads within Facebook. You probably want to do video reach and then also retarget those people with campaigns. I think that's a very effective way. We talked about leads with 2FA, Messenger being a good option, and then link to inventory also being another great option as well. We went over Google Ads that work. We went over PMAX, search, YouTube, click to inventory, click to contact, calls, store visits. So many great things. One thing I did not touch on within Google Ads is kind of conversion tracking. Conversion tracking can get a little bit in the weeds or a little bit more in depth. However, I do think the basic conversions that Google does track without any setup is pretty solid for the most part. I think a lot of people can still get a lot of value out of Google Ads without setting up an entire framework for conversion. But if you want more out of your Google Ads, I highly recommend trying to work with a specialist that can help you with conversions or possibly doing some research on setting up tracking conversions for Google Ads. And then just to kind of reiterate, money is always going to be in the follow-up. It's what matters the most. Marketing is just a function of business. It's going to help you get to that next level. But when it comes to sales and marketing, those two are very much going to have to work hand in hand. However, it's always important that your marketing is on point and that your sales understands what's going on for the marketing side. It's also important to be noted that your creative that you're running for marketing is always refreshing, rechanging. Things do get fatigued. Ad fatigue is a real thing. So basically, people see the ad so much, they no longer respond to it. Very, very true. I recommend 30 days as a minimum to just kind of refresh ads, push something new, and continue that route. Tracking your data is also just as important. You cannot really know what's happening unless you're tracking the data. For us here at Digimark, we do track the data through a software called Databox. I love Databox. You can connect everything to it. Google Analytics, Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Put it all in one place and you can see all of your data simplified. Now, the free blueprint framework that I was talking about, you can go ahead and click the link, just name and your email, and we'll go ahead and send you over that PDF to follow along. Everything step by step that we covered. I wanted to say thank you for sticking around. If you've watched the entire video, if you found a lot of value for this, please let me know, reach out to us, leave a comment. And as always, I appreciate it and hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.